الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة لأهل التقوى واليقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المأسومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام الدين. ما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاعبدون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. We're going to be talking about, we talked about religion yesterday, and we have a session today on atheism. Basically, people who do not believe in God. So how do we handle them, and what is the solution? Majority of the people in the world today claim to believe in one God. Even the Hindus and Buddhists say that they believe in one God. Jews, Christians, Muslims, and many other faiths, even Zoroastrians, although we say that they believe in two gods, like they say that the evil is also like powerful like God, so therefore we say that they believe in two gods. Otherwise, they claim to believe in one God. Likewise, Atheists, and many other faiths, minorities, Sikhs also believe in one God, although they are recent religion, 500-600 years old, but they do believe in Rab, or the Lord, who is a God. And so the whole concept is that there is a God. Now, first of all, many times the people who don't believe in a God, they try and portray to you that science denies God. Now, what God does science reject or deny? Science rejects the God that is a shape or body or mass or has volume or can be seen or is in a place or is in time and space. So they deny a God, or they deny a being that is supreme or in control, that can come into a laboratory or can be or can, so basically what they deny is a God that has body or shape. And we also deny such a God. We don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have body, volume, shape, mass. He's not a line or a dot, and he is not a being that can be seen, so he's out of the five senses, cannot be tasted or touched or seen or heard, for that matter, that he creates a sound if he wants to, but he cannot be seen or so he cannot be smelled. So therefore science cannot deny a God with the description given by the Holy Quran and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam, and does not. I've spoken to many scientists. I was speaking to an expert in physics the other night, 2 nights ago, in depth, in detail. So when the scientists, a lot of the big scientists were all believers, people like Einstein and many other scientists and big scientists, they were all believers in God. They're not deniers. So the science denies a God that is in body or shape, the God that, for example, holds the earth with his horn, and when it changes, there is an earthquake, or a God that is sitting on a chair, on a member, on a throne, or so those kind of gods, even we, the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So therefore, there is no denial from the science of the God we have. In fact, there are scientists who have gone on to prove the existence of God. And I know a DNA expert who has done, such a very beautiful study. And he says that, look, As scientists, he asked a number of people in America in the university, do you believe in God? No. Okay. Do you know what a DNA is? He asked each and every person. They said, yes. What is a DNA? He said, well, every person, every being has a DNA. Even plants have a DNA. Oh, so they do? So can you explain to me more? What is a DNA? He said, well, it tells us more about your color, your taste, and if we know about human beings, then we know their eye color, their hair color, their everything, the details about their being, their illnesses, everything DNA describes you. So he said, oh, is that a DNA, a detailed book about a person? He said, yes. So he brought in a book, colorful pictures, some writing. He said, what if I told you that this book came into being by itself? They all said, it would be absurd. How could this be possible? This book. He said, why not? Well, you need a writer who writes up the writing. You need a good printer. You need press. You need, colors. So much work has gone into it. So how can this just book come into being by itself? He said, okay, so you're telling me that this book cannot come into being by itself, but you're saying that, this DNA that we have and this detailed DNA, which is a book about each individual and each being, you're telling me that this whole book has been written by no one? It has come into being? Yes. And all of those scientists, each one said, well, we never thought of it like that. We never came across such an argument. Once I was discussing, a family invited me in Manchester for dinner, and they said, can we invite our, the couple? They, they both worked, and they said, the sister, the wife, she had a boss who was an atheist, and he used to respect her very much. That she never used to go to parties, never used to drink. She was very modest and chaste, and so he used to say, you pray and you do so much hard work, but there is no God. You're working so hard. So she said, he asked questions I cannot answer. I said, okay, why don't you invite the couple? So they came and they said, well, the couple who had invited me, they said, can we record you? I said, yes, you can record on video. So there are those video clips, you can watch them on my page on YouTube as well. And this couple sat down. So they said, we don't want the camera to record us, but you can hear them. I said, why do you deny God? They said, well, all the fights in the world, all the wars in the world are happening because of the people who believe in God. Jews, Christians, Muslims, all of these Hindus, they all believe in God. And that's what they're doing. They're killing. They're criminals. So I asked them, I said, where are you from? They said, we are from Cuba. I said, so does anyone believe in God in Cuba? They said, no one believes in God. We had heard of Christians. We knew about Christians, but we never knew about Muslims or anyone until we came to Britain. So I said, is Cuba clean of all crimes and all? So there is no theft, there is no murder, there is no rape, there is no killing, nothing, no robberies. He said, no, Cuba has a very high criminal rate. So I said, well, you're telling me that the people who don't believe in God, well, the people who believe in God are criminals. So the people who don't believe in God should be all non-criminals. He just went quiet. He said, well, we do have a very high crime rate from the atheists as well. So I said, well, so that means you cannot say that it's people who believe in God are doing all the crimes. Even the people who don't believe in God are criminals. So then we went into a long debate, and then, I give them many reasons. Then I don't want to go into too much, but so we believe in a God that has created this universe. How can this whole universe come into being? So there are many, many different reasonings that we go into proving that God exists. Simple ones I will talk about in the beginning. Number one. So we talked about Burhan and Nazm, a proof which is about the whole world being so systematic, so organized. Now, everything is so well organized and systematic. This is a proof that God exists. The Holy Quran says, لَوْ كَانَ فِيهِمَا آلِهَةٌ إِلَّا اللَّهُ لَفَسَدَتْ. If there were gods other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, you would see clash. You would see that there would be no organization in things. The things would clash. The things would not be so systematic and so well organized. Because everything in this universe is from one God, from one creator, from one originator, from one sovereign God who controls everything. That's why things are so well organized and systematic. If there were other gods in this universe, or even just one other God, there would be clash. And everything is so well organized. Everything runs so smoothly that it is a proof that there is only one God. And Ali ibn Abi Talib says in HIWM, if there was another God other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la atatka rusulah, then, oh my son Muhammad Hanafiya, then his messengers would also come to you. All prophets and all messengers have only said one thing, La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah, which proves that there is only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these people that came as prophets, many people who may not believe in them, but from Adam to Muhammad, peace be upon them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people have not said bad things about them, that they were corrupt or they were malice, or they, all they have said about them is that they, people killed them, people tortured them, people burned them alive, people stoned them to death or whatever. And they kept saying up until their death, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. Yes, there may be some accusations against Hazrat Musa, Hazrat Isa, and Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But generally about the prophets, they were very good people, like Hazrat Nuh, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. They were good people, and they lived amongst the people, and the people proved to said that they were good people. And they questioned the corruption in society and the tyrant rulers and the people who claimed to be gods in their time, that no, there is no God, or the idols are not gods. There is only one God. And they all endorsed each other. That is the biggest proof of truthfulness. No one said previous prophets were wrong, I am right. No, they all said so far whatever they have preached was correct, but I have come to endorse and say to you that you have now gone corrupt again. There is no God but Allah. And there are many other proofs. I want to go more into the proofs. One of the proofs is about cause and effect, illat and ma'lum. And this is called burhane imkano wujub in Arabic, the proof of possible beings and necessary beings. So there are two types of beings, possible beings and necessary beings. Some say, no, there are three types, impossible beings, beings which cannot exist. Well, then if they cannot exist and they are not there, then there are only two types of existence. The third type doesn't exist, like for example, a horse with 10 heads, or a God other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are impossible beings. Now, the two beings, everyone paying attention? We'll talk about this proof, which is a bit more difficult, but still it is philosophical, logical, and it proves the existence of God. So I will try and simplify it. Now, pay attention, everyone. Possible beings are all beings like us, that if they were there or not, it makes no difference. They would not change anything in this universe. And they are, in simple English, dependent beings. Possible beings are dependent beings. And then the necessary being is something which is independent. It doesn't need anything to exist. It doesn't need anything to be. And that necessary being must have qualities we will talk about later. So there are only two types of beings, necessary beings and possible beings. Now, with this preliminary, let's discuss the three scenarios. There are only three logical possibilities. Either everything is necessary being, or everything is possible being, or the third possibility is some are necessary and some are possible. Everything is necessary being is absurd because everything we look around and we see is possible being. I'm a possible being. There was a time I wasn't there. There'll be a time I will not be there. So I'm dependent. I'm not independent. The sun, the moon, the stars, the houses, the cars, everything that I see are all possible beings. There was a time they were not there. There will be time they will not be there. So therefore, everything is a necessary being is absurd, is not possible. Now let's prove that everything is a possible being is also wrong. Then we will have the third scenario, which is possible. Some, there are some possible beings and there are necessary beings. Everything is a possible being is wrong because if we believe that everything is a possible being, then that would mean that we believe in a vicious circle, tasalsul and dawr. If we say that it is a bit more difficult, please pay attention. If we say that everything is a possible being, then that would mean that nothing exists because everything is dependent. There is no independent. There is nothing outside the circle. There is nothing outside the cycle. While there has to be something outside the cycle for things to start off. I'm here because of my parents. They are here because of their parents. And until you go back, that the first man or the first being has to be created by someone who is not dependent, a being who is independent, someone who is necessary being. Therefore, everything as a necessary being is wrong as well. For example, if there are 10 people in a room and each one says, I will not leave until another one leaves, then no one would ever leave the room because each one of them says that I will not leave until someone else leaves. So each one of them is dependent upon the other. Leaving of A is dependent upon leaving of the rest of the members, number one. Leaving the room of number one is dependent upon the other 9. Leaving the room of number 2 is dependent upon the other 9. Leaving the number 3 of the room is dependent. So no one would ever leave because each one of them depend on the other. If everyone depends on each other, then nothing exists. No one would ever leave. Nothing would ever exist if everything is dependent. So everything is dependent, it cannot be true. So there must be something out of that circle, out of that cycle. Therefore, everything is a dependent being, everything is a possible being. It's wrong. So now the third scenario is right. So there is a necessary being and then there are possible beings. Now, yes, Allah is the only necessary being. Now, we believe that because every possible being, we don't want to go into the qualities and the attributes of the possible beings, but we need to discuss the qualities and the attributes of the necessary being. That necessary being that is outside the cycle, what qualities must they possess? Number one, they should be eternal. They should be eternal, meaning no beginning, no end. They should be ever living. Hayy in Arabic, Hayy, ever living, eternal, Qadim. In Arabic we say Qadim. Qadim, not ancient, but eternal. Qadim means eternal. Or Sarmadi, Allah is eternal. He has no beginning. He has been there from Azal and he will be there for Abad. Azal means no beginning, Empyrean. Abad, endless. So Allah has no beginning and no end. So at the moment we're not saying he's Allah, let's say necessary being. So that necessary being must be eternal. Because if it is not eternal, then it is dependent on life. And we said the necessary being has to be independent. If it is independent, then it should not depend on life. Therefore, it is eternal. It is eternal only and only when it is not dependent on life. Secondly, it should be omnipotent, qadir, all-powerful. When we say all-powerful, meaning Allah does things with free will. He is not compelled to do anything. For example, you cannot imagine fire without heat. So fire gives off heat. Can there be fire that does not give heat? No. Fire will always give heat. That's not how Allah is. Allah did not have to create everything. Fire gives off heat. It has no control. Sun gives off light. It has no control. That's not how Allah created everyone, that he had to. He wasn't compelled to. He wasn't majboor. It's not jabri. He created the whole of the universe and the human beings and everything with free will. That's why he is all-powerful. He is fa'il mukhtar, as they call in Arabic. Fa'il, doer, mukhtar, with free will. So he created everything with free will. So he is all-powerful. If he had to create, meaning then he was again not independent, because he was compelled, he was forced, he was dependent upon the jabr. But no, he is free, doer with free will. Therefore, he is independent in his decisions. So he's eternal and he's omnipotent. Omnipotent meaning all powerful. Everyone with me so far? I hope so. So he is eternal. The necessary being is eternal. The necessary being is omnipotent. The necessary being is omniscient, all-knowing. Because if it doesn't know and he needs others to tell him or tell the necessary being how things are, how they may be, then he's again dependent on others. So his knowledge is eternal, his knowledge is infinity, his knowledge is omniscient, all-knowing. He's all-knowing. Thank you. So he's all-knowing and omniscient. So therefore, the three qualities we've discussed, he is Hayy. Three qualities are the most important. Just these three qualities. He is Hayy, ever living, omnipotent, omniscient. Hayy, Qadir, and Alim. These three are the most important qualities for the necessary being. And that necessary being who has these three qualities is God, because he is ever living, Hayy, Qadir, all powerful, omniscient, all knowing. There may be other qualities like he's Sami'u Basir, he hears everything, he's all hearing. What the last one means, all knowing. Allah is omniscient. Omniscient means all knowing. Alim. He knows everything. Now, we also discuss other qualities like Sami'u Basir, he's all hearing, all seeing. Now, many scholars argue that all hearing and all seeing may refer to the last two qualities, that he has the power to see and hear everything because he doesn't have ears and eyes, or he has the knowledge to see and hear everything. So again, those three qualities are the most important. Ever living, all powerful, and all knowing. Okay? And then other qualities like he has free will, again returns to his free will, returns to his power. Again, so you may refer to he is Sadiq, he is truthful. So he wouldn't ever lie because he's not compelled to lie and he's not weak. So he's all powerful to say the truth. He speaks, so he doesn't have a tongue, so he has the power to speak, or he has the knowledge to speak. So they all return back to those qualities, and therefore many, many qualities, and all of those, alaikum salam, all of those qualities refer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that he has all of those qualities refer to three. So necessary being has these qualities: ever living, all powerful, all knowing. And that is God. That is God. Many people may argue in philosophy that no, it could be matter. Matter, madda. Well, there was a time when matter did not exist, because the science proves, in philosophy they say matter started everything up, but the science proves that everything started from nothing. There was nothing. But because they believe in matter to be nothing, we say God is not matter, and therefore it is he who started everything off from nothing. We may create things or make things, but we are producers, because I make a table from wood, nails, and a structure, a plan, and I have a copy from before. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib Islam says that Allah had no example to follow, and he created this whole universe so complicated without examples. And therefore he is the originator. He is the originator of the heavens and the earth, meaning he created everything from nothing. No examples, no prior knowledge, nothing. He created everything the best the first time round. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has all of these qualities, and then we can argue that, Rahim, Kareem, he is all merciful, he is all bestowing, he is generous, he is all of these qualities. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is independent, and he is the necessary. Now, atheists, sometimes, they deny God because they do not understand, and people have not answered their questions, and people do not have not explained to them. So there are many different methods of proving the existence of God, and I've only explained 2 or 3 to you. And we can go into long debates. Okay. Now, to an atheist, we first prove that there is a God. And once we prove that there is a God, that God we can name Allah or any other name. And once you prove that that God is Allah, Allah is a name Allah has chosen for himself. It's a name. God is Allah. Allah has given himself, the God has given himself a name. So once you prove that there is a God, then you prove prophethood, prove Quran. And from Quran we say, Qul huwallahu ahad. That God is Allah. Okay, so there is a question that how can you believe in when you can't even see him? You believe in so many things that you cannot see. Pain. I have pain. You get pain, you still believe in it, you can never see pain. Our memory, we cannot see the memory. Our feelings, our love, hatred, you like things, you dislike things. You cannot see those feelings, you believe in them. Angels. So there are so many things that you cannot see, but you still believe in them. Yes? Likewise, believing in an unseen God. So seeing God, I don't believe in. I don't believe in a God that you can see, because things you see are limited. Because sight, everyone pay attention to this. Sight means direction. When I am looking at the camera, then I don't know what's happening on my right, left, above, below, anyway. Your sight is to do with direction. Direction is in time and space. And time and space are limitations, and Allah is out of time and space. He is unlimited. He is beyond time and space. He is a creator of time and space. He is not limited to time and space. Anything which is in time and space is limited, and Allah is unlimited. So you cannot see him, because seeing things is in direction, and direction is limitation. So when you see in this direction, that means that he is limited to this direction. He's not in the other direction. And that would limit him. So limited things cannot be God, because God has to be infinity and timeless, spaceless, has to be eternal, has to be infinity. He must not be limited. Okay, everyone? Allah, some people argue that the word Allah is from al-ilah. Ilah means the deity, maluh, ma'bud, someone who is worshipped. And when we say that he is the worshipped, ilah, la ilaha, there is no God but Allah. So ilah is God, or the deity, or the worshipped one. There is no God but Allah. Al-ilah means Allah. And because it resembled Lat, the olden pagan Arabs had four big gods: Lat, Manat, Habl, and Uzza. So Lat, they would always call him Al-Lat, and that resembled Allah. So that's why we always say, we don't say Allah, we say Allah, Allah. So Allah is not good to say Allahu Akbar. So then we are clear that we believe in God. It has no feminine, it has no masculine, it has no tasghir. No, you cannot defend it, make it definitive, meaning you cannot make it small, like tasghir, rajul, rujail. It has no other forms, it has no dual or plural, and that's why Allah chose that to be his name, Allah. Okay, so he said, this is my name. Everyone has a name, and Allah named himself Allah. So the God the Muslims believe in is Allah, and he named himself that and said, this is my name. My parents chose my name, and you can sometimes change your name. So Allah said, this is my name, and I've chosen this to be my name, Allah. Okay. Now, this Allah that we believe in, God we believe in, has many qualities, and the most beautiful qualities is that he is Rahman and Rahim. He is the most merciful, the most compassionate. And because he's so compassionate, he sent guides, he sent prophets, and he sent us the things he likes, the things he dislikes. He doesn't want us to do this. So he wants us to do halal, not do haram. And therefore, and he loves us so much. And because of his lutf meaning his mercy, his endless mercy, he wants us all to go to paradise. And he sent us in this dunya. But when he created us, there are temptations we have. What are the temptations in this world? Why do people deny God? And a lot of the people, when atheists I speak to, I've converted hundreds of people. The biggest problem they find is the don'ts of a faith. Oh, you can't drink, you can't do this, you can't do fornication, you can't commit sins. And they find that difficult. It's not that we find religious things bad. No, their religious things are good. You have to respect your parents. You have to be ethical. You have to be decent. You have to respect. It is not the do, it is the don'ts. And sometimes, some of the do's as well. Oh, you have to pray, get up in the morning and do fajr. You have to fast, and you have to, well, it's my money. Why do I have to give charity? Like a lot of the people find those difficult. So the do's and don'ts of Islam can be a bit difficult. Otherwise, they don't find the concepts wrong. They don't find the concept. A lot of the people, when I speak to them, they don't find the concepts to be bad. Now, so a lot of the concepts are good. They find them good. Now, when you speak to atheists, you have to be respectful and never preach with aggressiveness. A lot of the people who convert because of the ethical side of the people who are following religion. When they see, oh, the person who believes in God is good, then they would follow. You have to be smiling when preaching. You have to be respectful. If you cannot understand an argument, do not be disrespectful. Do not fight. Do not argue. So don't ever be disrespectful. Always be respectful with everyone. What are the most important things to tell an atheist other than let me repeat the question. Other sectors that only Islam, Shia Mazhab is the true religion. You can tell them that Shia religion is the true one, but I think don't go into sects. It is the most important thing in the beginning is not to tell them about, oh, Islam, Muslims, in the beginning, just God. Just make clear to them that there is a God, and that God is Allah. And once you have proved, you've proven to them that there is a God. I was speaking to an atheist many, many years back when I described that this whole universe cannot on sex Islam, haram in Islam. Okay, well, people have gone, people have different schools of thought in understanding Islam. You can call them schools of thought. So I was speaking to this atheist many years back, probably 17, 18 years back. And I described to him, I said, look, this whole universe cannot come into being by itself. And when you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, then it means that, you're saying that this whole universe cannot come into being by itself. This universe exists because of a God, a creator. And that creator is God and Allah. And there are many difficult concepts I've talked about today. So when you see, if a person does not believe in God, then you convince them about God, and then once they're convinced, then you can tell them anything they will. The religion. But religion is always replaced by a religion. People who believe usually in religion, if they do not understand the concept of God, then they will leave religion. But usually they remain, and if they understand another religion to be better than theirs, then they will basically replace their religion with another religion. So it is easier to a person who already believes in a God, Jew, Christian, Hindu, or anyone, to say that, yes, you already believe in a God. Okay. I'll have to read those questions in a minute. Because I'm online through my phone. I'm not on my laptop, so I cannot just check. I have to keep checking the messages. So basically, when you explain to a person who already has a faith, has a religion, and you explain to them the concept of God through Islam, then they will accept. They will accept and that, yes, the concept of Tawheed or God in Islam is better, in Shia religion is better. And once they believe about the concept of God, then you bring them in about the prophethood. And if they already believe in Jews or Christians, they're already believers in prophets, and you say, the next prophets were also your prophets. You did not believe in them. So you prove to them the Holy Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Quran, and then you bring them on to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. The Day of Judgment, everyone believes in, anyone who believes in faith. So it is important that you explain Tawheed to people properly. Let me now take questions. Okay. How can you prove that there's only one God? Okay. Every effect must have a cause. Okay. Every effect has a cause, but not every, for example, not every necessary. Is that your question? Sajjad Ali Juma? When I was explaining the necessary being, Allah is the only necessary being. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we say that He's the only necessary being, and necessary beings have no cause, but every effect must have a cause. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate cause, but not, so many causes also have, many effects have causes, and many of the causes are also effects. Yes, I may be an effect, but I'm also cause of doing many things. But when we talk about God, God is the ultimate cause. He has no cause. I was wondering if omnibenevolence, being all loving, was also a necessary trait for God to have. When we say, the three ultimate causes, so again, omnibenevolence may return back to His power, that He is all powerful or He is all knowing, not necessarily that has to be an independent. Allah loves and He's merciful at all times. But is that a separate? Is that a necessary? Is that a must quality for necessary being? Not necessarily, no. What evidence can we give to their main point is that how can you believe in? Okay, we've already answered this. See him. How do we deal with the problem of evil? Okay. Well, when we say that, how do we deal with the problem of evil? We have attractions in this world. زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ وَالْقَنَاطِيرِ الْمُقَنطَرَةِ مِنَ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِضَّةِ. So there are many attractions we have in this world. But Allah has also given us spiritual powers, wisdom, that we must not submit to evil powers or just our lust and our desires. We must submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we must not submit and have you seen the one who has taken his desires to be his Lord? So some people become so lustful that they only serve their desires and they submit to their desires, and the desires become their God sometimes. And that's what we must not do. We all have desires and we have inclinations, but we just fulfill our inclinations with halal means, our desires, but we must not submit to them and take them as gods. Okay? Okay, we must not believe in sex, but we have, different schools of thought. How can you logically describe one? There is only one God. So we gave a proof that you would only need 2 or 3 gods when what the first God has shortcomings and has mistakes and is not perfect and the being which is not perfect cannot be omnipotent or all-knowing, because the all-knowing and all-powerful will not have shortcomings and mistakes and deficiencies and faults and mistakes, because they're all powerful. Then why would they make a mistake? And then if they're all knowing, then why would they make a mistake? So the all powerful will not make a mistake because they don't need to, and they have no shortcomings. Okay. Is it easier to explain? Okay. In Allah, if Allah had one religion since the beginning of time, how come so many different faiths and religions have come to be and deviated? With so many prophets coming with the same message, how is this possible? Okay, very good question. So all the prophets came and preached La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. Now the next prophet came and preached, and sometimes people did not accept the next messenger to be the prophet of God or the messenger of God. So they stopped at, for example, David or Moses or Jesus, and they did not believe in the next one. That's why there are so many religions. Even the people who all believe in Islam, even there you have so many schools of thought. Shias and Sunnis, and within Sunnis, Sufis and Deobandis, Wahhabis, Takfiris, and so many schools of thought. Or within Shias, for example, Ismailis. Not that they did not believe in God. So they believed in God. They also believed in the last messenger. And then they did not believe in the Imams, or they believed in the Imams, but some Imams and not all Imams, not all 12. That's how people stopped, or they did not understand, or they did not accept the next prophet or the next message or the next Imam. That's how there are so many religions, or so many schools of thought. 659 says, it's those who divide their religion and break up into sects that are wrongdoers. Yes. So people who deviate from the main path are wrongdoers. People who leave the main path, or people who deny God or deny some of the prophets or some of the Imams, they are wrongdoers. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. What are Islam's views about LGBTQ plus? So we basically believe in the Quranic ideology, and the Holy Quran says that you have to be heterosexual. Is Shiaism the only correct religion? What about the other religions? Are they correct as well? So we explained all of this yesterday. If you listen to the recording, Hassan Suleiman, and that Allah will give a chance to other religions and other schools of thought as well in the hereafter. And if they accept it, then they will go to paradise. And if they reject it in the hereafter, after death, then they will not be. And if they are true, then why are we not allowed to eat with Hindus? Okay, so what we are saying is that what makes you tahir is basically it is tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there are some scholars who say that all religions are tahir. But at the moment, Adil Sistani says that no, you can only eat from Jews and Christians, but because they did believe in the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and prophets, but they denied the last messenger, but you can still eat from them, but you cannot eat from people who are not people of the book. Salam alaikum salam. From Ali Hussein. How can we explain seemingly undeserved suffering such as slavery being allowed to happen by God? Okay. We do not have, for example, in the beginning, it is not easy to forbid everything because people are practicing those things. So Islam came and said, people who drink should not come to the Holy Prophet. People who drink should not pray. People who are drinking should not do this. And then slowly Islam forbade things. So in the beginning, slavery or the things, Islam did not abolish because would people accept? So slowly Islam abolished certain things. So certain haram things or certain rules, they were not abolished straight away because people would not accept, people would not believe in them. And so likewise, slowly Islam said, okay, you have to pray. Did not say from day one, okay, you have to pray or give zakat or the rights of neighbors or the rights of, so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very clearly says, Inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa unsa. We created all of you, all human beings from one man and one woman. So all black, white and colored people and people of different races are from one father and mother. They're all from one Adam and Eve. Therefore, they're not unequal. They're not, so everyone is equal in terms of race. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. It is only your good deeds that make you better than others, not because you are of different races, you're better or superior. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Why do the clever kids at school become atheists? Okay, very good question. Who is this? Kubra Hamadani. Many a times people who are very intelligent and they are not answered their questions about God and about the concepts, about the depths of the concept of Tawheed and oneness of God, then they go astray. They become. So it is not the people who are dumb who do terrorism or who do evil acts or who do crimes and wars. A lot of the rulers, like the politicians, they are the most intelligent people, and a lot of the politicians become rulers and then they kill others, they go to war. So it is not dumb people who do all those things. It is always the intelligent people who who become criminals, who become wrongdoers because they're not, their abilities are not channelized properly. So a lot of the clever people and intelligent people come into becoming criminals and bad doers and deniers of God. Okay. When the topic of the oneness of or the proof of God is brought up in front of an atheist, they usually argue with the topic of suffering and how there couldn't be a God if there is suffering in the world. How would you respond to this? Very good question. Who is this? Ali Ejaz and Ali Asfar. Now, this is from the beginning. So if there is God, then why are people dying with hunger in Africa? Why is there suffering? Why are people born disabled? So if God existed, then God would not want that. Okay. Number one, all the people who go through suffering, people who go through, people who are, insane, or people who are disabled, or people that die very young before becoming adults, they all go to paradise because of the suffering or because of losing their life early, because of the problems they face. Number one. Number two, if you look at the books of Ibn Sina and Khaja Nasruddin Tusi, some of the in-depth studies on the sufferings, even believers suffer, even prophets that God had sent, suffered through illnesses or through losing sight, or these are all trials, these are all tribulations, these are all um, uh, imtihan, tests from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not, and a lot of the people who go through suffering, they do not become deniers of God. They go through suffering and they still accept. So the biggest of the trials were not of the people who denied God, but of the people who believed in God. The prophets and the imams saw the most suffering, and yet they did not deny God. They believed. Who saw the biggest killing and the most suffering? Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And even after seeing all of those sufferings and seeing all of those problems and the killings that happened, and just about before being killed, he went into prostration and he said, "Oh Allah, your servant is before you. I believe in you and I accept you and I do not deny you." And a lot of the people who became communists and became deniers of God believed in God because of the prophets and the imams who, after seeing the most suffering in the world, did not deny God. Reading Surah Tawheed, do we know Allah said He is only one? Yes. Qul huwallahu ahad. Ahad, He is the one who has no second. Allahu Samad, He is needless. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He was not born of anyone and He has not given birth to anyone. He has not given birth and He wasn't born of anyone. Lam yalid wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. And He has no equal or no parallel to Him. He has no partners. Why do Sunnis and Shias pray different? Well, they take their teachings from the Sahaba and we take our teaching from the Ahlul Bayt, and the Ahlul Bayt told us that the Holy Prophet prayed like this. That's why we pray like this. Salam alaikum. When the topic of the oneness or the proof of God is brought up in front of an atheist, they usually argue with topic of suffering. And okay, I already answered that. If an atheist believes God is real, but does not know which God is the true one, how can we prove it is Allah and not another God? You basically argue about the qualities and the attributes of God, the eternal God, the powerful God, the all-knowing God, and, the merciful God, and all of those qualities and attributes mentioned about, the 99 names. And that's how you prove that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ismailis considered real Shias. Ismailis are not real Shias. They only believe in 6 Imams and not all 12 Imams. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. What is the best book about after Quran to tell the atheists that there is a God? Nahjul Balagha, Imam al-Islam has very beautiful sermons, and I've also translated in English the Book of Divine Unity. That is all about God. I've translated that in English, and that is the best book on Tawheed. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. Today, with so much of terrorism spreading in the world, it's always Muslims who are blamed for it. Isn't this showing a bad picture, Islam, and how should we stop this? This question is from Zahra Mir Naeem Ali. Very good question. Well, unfortunately, it is not even 1% of the Muslims which are terrorists, not even 1%, not even 0.1%. There are 1.8 billion Muslims, if not more, in the world. And 1% of those would mean 18 million terrorists. And 0.1% would mean 1.8 million terrorists. You cannot prove that there are 1.8 million terrorists in the world, which are Muslims. So most of the people are not killed because of terrorism. They are killed because of hunger. They are killed because of wars. The wars are done by non-Muslims. Muslims are under attack. We are victims twice. And we're not killing people. We're not, most of the Muslims you will see around, 99.9% of the Muslims are practicing people who are not terrorists, who are not bad. So it is the media who just portrays the Islamic picture to be evil and bad. Some atheists say, if God loves us, why does He let us go through bad times, such as COVID? Okay, our parents love us, and sometimes we go through, like a child doesn't want to go to school, they still send to school. They don't want medicine, So God puts us through trials, and if he puts you through something, and sometimes has God caused it, or have we caused it? The Holy Quran says, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ. All the corruption that you see in the surface of the earth and in the oceans is doing of the mankind. So sometimes we have done these things. Sometimes laboratory have created, certain viruses and certain, and it is a proven fact through, through many of the unclassified papers that AIDS and many of the viruses were created by laboratories in America and other countries. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Can you explain how Hazrat Adam and Eve children went on to have offspring as they were siblings? Yes, so according to some hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down Huris for them from the paradise. So the sons of Hazrat Adam got married to the Huris, and then they had children from the Huris, and the cousins got married to each other. And some scholars say that siblings may not have been forbidden to each other, but according to Imam Sadiq, the siblings were forbidden to each other, and it was, this is the explanation by Imam Sadiq that I gave. Last question before we complete today, we end. How come we are given the test of living in this world when we never chose to be born? Did something happen in Alam al-Dar, which is why we are here? Okay. So first of all, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he created us. He could have chosen not to create us. Secondly, we thank him that he made us human beings. He could have made us animals. Third, we thank him for giving us sanity. He could have made us insane. And lastly, we thank him for making us Muslims and giving us so much power, wisdom, and making us ethical. So we are in this world, and Allah created us, and we are here for a test. And this test is to be good, and that is not a bad test. Bad test would be that we were made to do evil. No, we are given a test to be ethical and to be good. Wa alaikum assalam to Sheikh Ayyub as well. Give my salams to him as well, please. Thank you very much, everyone. The time has finished. I will not take any more time as the time has ended. Inshallah, we will continue tomorrow at 4 p.m. in the next topic. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.